YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here back on Total War Rome 2, and this time we're going to take a look at a Getae versus Pontus battle. And I wasn't really sure what to do, Getae versus Pontus. I really feel like Pontus is a better faction in general, just for a couple of reasons. I think they've got good sword infantry at a mid-tier level, though the noble swords of the Getae are definitely the beastliest infantry unit between the factions. My opponent actually decides to bring a pike army, which I did not expect, and so he's got a mix of bronze shields and standard pikemen. His general's in a bronze shield. He has a grand total of 5 noble blood cavalry. This is a substantial cav force, and very capable of trying to give my men grief for outflanking his pikes. And then he's also got 1 light cav out here, probably just for mobility. And he's got a front line of 5 eastern slingers, and then each flank is protected by a Thurio spear. So actually a substantial amount of skirmishing power, and a lot of support power in this army. Now, he's not particularly infantry heavy, but if you think about it, your natural reaction to pike armies is to, oh, well, I'm just going to outflank. And if I did that, I might be trying to outflank. My opponent swings a couple of these horsemen out here, bam, bam, pins you in, and then a pikeman behind you. And so outflanking may not end up working real great for you there. And then from a front on, I do have archers. My archers need to be used on his pikemen, but that's a lot of slinger fire that he can return on my archers. And he can also put down a substantial amount of slinger fire on my infantry. So if you are going to use a corps of pikemen, I like the fact that my opponent has at least tried to give them the support units they need in order to succeed and survive. So in any case, that's his army. Mine, I have 2 of these noble horsemen, which are very nice shot cavalry. I've got 2 spear horsemen. My main corps is 4 armored spears, and then 4 axe warriors, mercenary axe warriors, and then I have 2 falxmen, and then a noble sword for my general. I've got 4 of these Dacian heavy bowmen, which have taken a buff in the recent patch 2 with the increased range. They have 30 armor and then a little bit better attack stats. So they definitely have a nice tool now in having this long-range firepower. Now, pound for pound, though, I am very scared of the enemy eastern slingers. They have shields. I would have to waste a lot of ammo, which means I wouldn't have ammo left for his pikes. And you can actually see that this is a fairly long fight, so you'll end up getting to see what happens in the end. Let's go ahead and fast forward. I start an outflanking maneuver on my opponent just to kind of give you an above view of how this plays out early. My opponent's going to play defensively as he should with his pike army. So that's just kind of how it's going to play out for now. He brings up a light cavalry and starts to draw fire from my archers, which honestly I wish I wouldn't have had my archers on fire at will. Fortunately, they only wasted part of a volley. But you can see what he's doing. He's running around. He's actually forcing me to waste my ammunition, which was a very good decision on his part. Wasting ammunition on a Celtic light horse that's moving is not smart, so I took my guys off fire at will to make sure that that didn't happen again. So very nice opening move for my opponent. Anyway, let's go back into the fast forward until we get to the next phase. Again, you're going to see me just keep moving men around his flanks. I need to be able to threaten his flanks, but I can't let those guys get too isolated, so I send the armored spears rather than my axemen because they are not going to be vulnerable to his noble blood cav. And then I send 1 of my spear horsemen on each flank too, so that I have some mobility in order to protect my spearmen. Now in the center, I go ahead and leave my archers here, but I keep my noble horse in the center to help protect my archers. And I do want to go ahead and move up though, which would hopefully give me some flexibility to get around my opponent's flank. So I send my armored horse, or my noble horseman, in on a charge towards his slingers. It's pretty risky because he has phalanx right behind them, but my opponent's guys are not on skirmish, and so I'm able to just charge straight in. And his guys will go into phalanx formation, and I will lose a few horsemen. But it ends up being worth it because I'm going to totally catch his slingers here and just start killing a whole lot of his slingers. And again, he's going to move his pikemen up. That's the right thing to do. And I'm going to lose some horsemen, but I kind of feel like it'll be worth it at this point to kill his skirmishers without really taking any loss to my own. He does bring in his light horse, trying to get at my skirmishers. And again, I go ahead and fire at them with my archers, which all of this is probably foolishness because my archer's ammo really needs to be used on his pikemen. Otherwise, he can just box, and I'll have nothing to do about his box. But he's got other threatening units out here, like these noble blood cav, and all I have is axemen at the moment because my cavalry are busy mopping up slingers. So I go ahead and start bringing my cavalry back in this direction. I let these guys stay here a little too long, and they got chewed up a little bit on this phalanx and by his slingers, but I will get them out of there eventually. Yeah, and his noble blood cav over here is getting caught up with falxmen and armored spears. Not the kind of fight they want to be in. Although I really should have focused on his noble blood cav since they have access to my archers now. See how I pulled through this fight? And he's going to threaten all my archers. This is bad, so I'm going to have to bring in my noble general to try and push him away. And I actually totally forgot about these guys until they were down to like 17 men. That was stupid. And then I chase off his Noble Blood Cab here with heavy losses, and then his Noble Blood Cab out here is engaged with Armored Spears and Spear Horsemen. That's not a fight they want to be in. So overall, I feel like I'm doing a good job of taking his cavalry down to size, but unfortunately here my opponent goes, he's going to start getting into this, this bowman. And there's not a whole lot I can do about that. All I have is this depleted Noble Horseman to come in and try and slow him down. It's getting shot in the back. So now it's routed all together. So I lose an archer early on that still had all of its ammo left. Huge, huge problem for me, but I do get a little revenge and basically destroy his Noble Blood Cav there. And then over here, I was in the process of outflanking. I didn't notice that these guys were caught up on pikemen, and my opponent brings in a nice rear charge. So that's a good job for him. Whereas here, these Armored Spears are up against this Noble Blood Cav and Thurio Spear, which is fine. They'll actually be killing a lot of his Noble Blood Cav. I'm okay with that. So now my archers have killed his guys. I still have most of my ammo left. This Noble Blood Cav's dead. This Noble Blood Cav is mostly dead. And now my opponent's Thurio Spears are surrounded and are going to be destroyed. So I've managed to get his Thurio Spears and also kill some of his Noble Blood Cav and his Light Cav. So my opponent is losing his mobility, but I lost one of my skirmish units. And I'm going to go ahead and start firing at his pikemen. Again, when you think about it, there was really no reason for me to start firing at his pikemen. I should have waited even longer until later in the match, whenever I could get my archers closer to his pikemen and have more accurate shots. And I start to outflank again, but now my opponent brings in another Noble Blood Cav, and all I have is one unit to defend my archers against. So once again, I've allowed my archers to become endangered, which they are a key part of my plan, and I've let these Noble Spearmen stay here and fight far too long. But I'm just going to pull these Noble Spearmen back and keep them back. My opponent's going to give chase with his Thurio Spears, but I really don't think that he wants to engage the Armored Spears with his Thurio Spears. But he is getting a free charge there, so why not? Yeah, over here his Thurio Spears are routing, and I've still got a pretty good sized Noble Horse unit left. So I definitely have the mobility advantage at this point. I've got Spear Horsemen free, and I'm going to start going after my opponent's remaining Slingers just to make sure that they're gone for good. And basically make sure that he has no way to fight my archers. And I have to hope the number of archers I have left is enough to get the job done. And again, see, he's going to come out here chasing the station heavy bowman. But this time, rather than running, I go ahead and decide, you know what, I should have done this all together anyway. I don't know if it would have been the right thing, but I need to stop and fight because the Dacian bowmen have a decent melee attack. They don't have spears, unfortunately. But somehow they have like these weird levitating swords. I don't know what's going on. Look, see the swords levitating out of his hand there. That's pretty cool. Apparently the Dacian heavy bowmen have magic swords to fight with. Anyway, so I get into his slingers, going to sacrifice the Spear Horseman to kill the slingers. His general's going to try and stop that, but there's not a whole lot that he can do. And then I'm going to use, yeah, just using my cav to get all of his slingers. Get this unit right here too. He's going to protect it with his pikemen. But I'm going to be able to get out of here with relatively few losses. Get away with most of this Noble Horse unit. Pikemen are just not very good about pushing forward. But he does get some kills. It was not injury-free for me. But think about it, late game cavalry is not going to be very good versus nothing but pikes, whereas other units would be more useful. But again, now all I've got is 3 units of Dacian heavy bowmen. That one's a little depleted. This one's a little depleted, so I've lost a lot of ammunition by allowing his Noble Blood Cav to get kills, which basically gives my opponent a chance to pull this off, which is bad for me. So rear charge with the Spear Horsemen to try and finish off these Thurio Spears, and then I'm going to chase down these Slingers that are coming back from routing, and just also bring more troops around in general. So just doing whatever I can to get rid of all his slingers. So at this point, I'm going to need to fast forward because as you can see, what's going to happen is my opponent's going to pike box, and my units are not close enough to get him before he gets into the pike box. So this is his option of last resorts, and he's kind of like, LOL, I guess this is what happens every time you bring pikes. You just end up having to pike box. It definitely can be the case. Pikes are not easy to use. Not at all. So again, remember earlier when I was shooting my archers at his pikes from a distance? I should have had the foresight to know that you know, with the way I was gaining momentum in the battle, this is where the late game was going to come. And the reason why I should wait with my archers, and honestly I should have moved even closer to do this, but I go ahead and start shooting his guys in the back. So this is the danger of a pike box whenever someone has missiles or javelins left. You can essentially shoot one of the pike units in the back at all times. So I'm going to have this unit of armored spears, hopefully waiting to get in. So my hope is like, okay, I'm going to shoot these guys to death while he repositions. I'm going to get my armored spears into the back, which will force other pike units to turn around inward, which means I can get them. So that's my goal at the moment. And this is a bronze shield pikeman too. It's a higher value target, so I want to take them out. Though the bronze shield pikemen do have 65 armor. Yeah, the regular pikemen do as well. But I should have gone ahead and just charged at this point, but I did not. So because I didn't just charge like he had a few pikemen left, my opponent was able to reform into an even tighter, more well-defended box. I was just like, crap. I should have been ready to charge him while he was doing this and get some kills. But anyway, I'm going to move up on my axemen. They still have some javelins. My bows still have arrows. I'm going to just fire at the back of any pike units. So see, like, these guys have their backs turned to me, so I'm just going to start, you know, shooting all these units in the back. And it probably would have been a good idea to kill the general, but all these units are disciplined, so that may not do a whole lot either. And I do have the Intimidate ability on my general, which means I can essentially keep his general from using his general abilities if I choose to. Yeah, all my axemen are throwing their javelins as well, and should be unloading everything they have left. This pikeman's just about dead, so my opponent's again going to reform and just keep tightening his box. And where he does pretty good with this pike box is these guys actually have their backs turned at this moment. I did not realize this. I really, really should have charged here. This is a huge blunder on my part, huge blunder, because that could have caused a great deal of damage. But now my opponent is going to go ahead and start turning units around and see now how he has these pikes facing the right direction. So by the time I see it to charge in, my opponent's already done some reforming, and my kills on his general will be minimized because he's able to basically turn around and reform, so I'm going to have to pull back out of this again. And I decided, like, hey, maybe I can shoot some... I had, like, just, like, 2 volleys left, 1 on each archer unit. So I was like, I'm going to fire a flaming volley to see if I can charge and break the morale of these guys. So I go ahead and start charging my men in. But again, you can see that even on the corners of the box, he's positioned his guys to where there's pikes basically facing in every direction. And my men are not really gaining any advantage, and I'm losing men here. His morale isn't good, but it's good enough. And you see he used his raise the banner just to make his guys have even more protection. I keep spewing flaming arrows over. It does cause some wavering. It's definitely hurting his morale, but it's just not enough to get a chain route going, and that's the last of my ammo. So now my archers are all out of ammo, unfortunately. Now they do have decent melee attack, but again, now my opponent's in this pike box, so you can see there's still 8 minutes left. And so after this attack, I realized, okay, this isn't going to work. So I'm going to have to pull back. And I basically start studying my opponent's box at close for a weakness. So like over here, I think, well, it's kind of a weakness. Like he doesn't necessarily have pikes pointed in this direction. So I move up my noble swords too. Had a unit or had some javelins left, and then I start moving my men up in a column formation, just trying to see if I can kill some of his pikemen out here on the flank. But my men are still getting up here and getting jabbed by his pikes. But I'm like, all right, you know, I'll just see if I can pick away at the corner of this box. That wasn't really working, so I reformed my men into a tighter column. And then I see over here that his guys had a little bit of a flank exposed, so I tried charging cav in. That's not really working. I can't really get a good charge. So then I bring this column up again and keep trying the cav charge, just trying to get what kills I can. But my noble cavalry gets basically slaughtered. So okay, bring up the column formation again. See if we can work on the flank of these pikes any. Not really working really good for me. So basically, and then my opponent turns his general to face that what was the only weak spot I could find. So now there's like porcupine. I mean, there's pikes sticking out everywhere. There's really no corner of this thing that I can attack and get away with it. So I'm kind of in a tough situation here, and my opponent asks, he's like, this is ridiculous. I can concede defeat. And I'm like, I didn't say anything to him, but I was thinking, no, don't concede defeat. I was busy maneuvering my men. So then I had another idea. It's like, well, maybe I can issue pull-through orders and like just see if I can force a pull-through on his pikes. And it kind of almost works, but my guys take heavy losses doing it. And most of them still just stay stuck out here on the front of the phalanx, but that's good to know that you can't just pull through the front of a phalanx. But hey, I had to try something. So get my armored spears in here, and they end up just getting slaughtered. I was going to try and pull through with this unit too, but they just get completely stuck. There's nowhere to go. And if I keep pulling through, my units are just going to get killed really fast. So, alright, that didn't work. So now I'm going to have to pull back and kind of rethink everything again. I have all my men close, and I'm kind of just thinking I don't really have any javelins left. There's not really any corners that I can seem to get a hold of. So there was like this odd hole in my opponent's line here, and I put my men in a very tight column thinking I could sneak into it. But that didn't work either because they still get hung up. So I wasn't able to get into that hole. And I just keep probing for anything I can here, but I'm not really left with a whole lot of options at this point. Like, eventually, I'm just going to have to charge all my units in and hope that the morale factors in, and that I can kill my opponent that way. And here comes that charge, so I just click a huge mob attack order, and I'm hoping, just hoping, every now and then I'll get like an attack in the rear penalty on my opponent's pikes. I did not use Intimidate in time, so he gets raised banner popped, and I do believe here in a moment I drop Intimidate, so now he can't do a rally, which is good because I don't want him to bolster his morale. And sure enough, I do actually start to get some penalties on some of his pike units. There's a waiver started. He is killing a lot of my men because his pikes are somewhat holding out, but as they start to rout, this is just going to make things worse, and the morale is going to start to drop as my men start to break through, and we get more attacked in the rear penalties. And so the all-out charge ended up winning it for me here. Doing that too early, though, may not have worked. So I'm kind of glad that I took my time probing into that. Hope you all enjoyed this. So was able to finally break my opponent's pretty well-formed box there. And this ends up being a victory over Pontus. So kind of a long, drawn-out battle with several phases. I enjoyed it. I hope you all enjoyed it. It was fun playing against my opponent there. And had a good time in that battle. Anyway, that's all I have for now. HeirofCarthage, signing off.